Hello everyone and welcome to my very first episode of Under the Skin that features all legendary pistol skins. I covered 4 of them not so long ago and figured it was now time to get into talking about the pistol skins of Battlefield 1. Once again, I'm Christopher, the video game historian, and with this episode, I'm going to go over the Gordon Highlander skin for the Auto Revolver, the Kulak skin for the Obrez pistol, the Rasputin skin for the Nagant Revolver, and finally, the Saint-Mihiel skin for the P08 Luger. The first entry in this video is the Gordon Highlander skin for the Auto Revolver, which had eluded me for some time. This skin is named in reference to the Highlander regiment of the same name, which was originally raised in 1794 by the 4th Duke of Gordon as the 100th Regiment of Foot, though would be renumbered to the 92nd later and then renamed the Gordon Highlanders in 1881 during the Childers Reform, when they merged with the 75th Regiment of Foot. When they were first raised, they were originally recruited from the Gordon estates, and the Duchess of Gordon at that time had offered a kiss to anyone who joined her husband's regiment as an incentive to do so. During the Napoleonic Wars, they played a prominent role in Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo. In World War I, 21 battalions were raised, encompassing 50,000 troops who saw service at Mons, the Scarpe, Cambrai, Saint-Quentin, Arras, Celle, Ypres, and Zeebrugge, among others. By the end of the war, they were awarded 57 battle honors and 4 Victoria Crosses at the expense of 27,000 casualties, 8,000 of which were deaths. Next up is the Kulak skin for the Obrez pistol, and this skin refers to one of the 3 classes of peasantry in Russia. While it does translate out to fist in English, Kulaks were a group of land-owning peasants in Russia before, during, and after the war, and were essentially born out of the landlords during the serfdom period. After serfdom's abolition in 1861, the former serfs gained land that was once in possession of their landlords, who were now the Kulaks. Despite some taxes and tolls by the Kulaks to their former serfs, these peasants were reluctant to give up any land that they had, regardless of the threats. As many Russians were being conscripted into the army to fight, Kulaks bribed government officials to get out of it, which resulted in the former serfs being sent into battle. With the only obstacle out of the way, Kulaks began grabbing up as much land as they could in a massive free-for-all. By 1917, 9/10 of all arable land in Russia was now under Kulak control. During the war itself, grain was an important commodity as it fed the soldiers, and Kulaks understood that, and continued to raise prices higher and higher. By the time of the revolution, Kulaks were deemed an enemy of the working class by the Soviets. You can't really have anything set in World War I revolutionary Russia without a mention of the Mad Monk, Grigory Rasputin, and that's who the Rasputin skin for the Nagant Revolver is named after. Born in Siberia in 1869 to a peasant family, Rasputin would go on to become a favorite and close advisor to Tsarina Alexandra before their execution. Originally, he entered a monastery in hopes of becoming a monk, but would soon leave to start a family with his wife, with whom they had 3 children, though 2 of which would die in childbirth. After a few years of being married, he would leave his family in order to travel the world and make several pilgrimages to Jerusalem and the Holy Land. In 1903, he found himself in St. Petersburg with a reputation as a mystic and healer, and would soon enter Tsar Nicholas II's court in order to help his son Alexis with his hemophilia. His close association to the royal family and his lascivious behavior was used by the press to undermine the royal family's credibility and help push for more reform. While it was believed that he held great political sway over the Tsar and Tsarina, he was only limited to the house of Alexis. On December 29, 1916, conspirators in the government who did not trust Rasputin set out to assassinate him, including the Tsar's first cousin, Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich and Prince Felix Yusupov. He was invited to the prince's palace for a dinner where he was fed food laced with cyanide. For whatever reason, the cyanide didn't work, and the conspirators took more drastic measures by shooting him multiple times before wrapping him up in a carpet and tossing his body into the Neva River. His last prophecy to the crown came true as he stated to the Tsar that if he is killed by government officials, then the royal family will die by the people. The Tsar and his family would be executed in July 1917, just 7 months after Rasputin's assassination. Finally, the last skin for this episode is the Saint-Mihiel skin for the P08 Luger. This skin is a reference to the Battle of Saint-Mihiel, which was America's first major and independent operation in the war. After the Second Battle of the Marne, the 1st American Army Corps HQ was moved to the Saint-Mihiel salient between Verdun and Nancy, which the Germans had control over and had fortified since their occupation in 1914. US troops were deployed to the sector on August 30th, and their attack on the salient would begin on September 12, 1918. The US 1st and 4th Corps began their attacks while being assisted by French tanks and a French colonial division, along with 2,900 artillery guns, firing on the German defenses. Despite the bad weather and the tanks being bogged down in the mud, the Allied forces managed to continue on with the attack, which caught the Germans by surprise. Knowing they were outnumbered, the German line simply collapsed. While many German troops were able to abandon the sector, the US still took 1,300 prisoners and captured 466 guns. German losses were around 5,000, while the US took 7,000 losses in casualties. Yet, what the Americans lacked in experience for the war, they made up for in their enthusiasm and morale. By September 16th, the sector was free of German occupation, and the American forces were now being transferred south towards the Argonne Forest. That's all for this week's episode. Hopefully you all enjoyed it, and if so, please leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and leave your comments down below. Don't forget to follow me on social media with Twitter and Facebook, as well as find me in the Forum Feelers Platoon on the PlayStation 4. You can also join my Discord server, link in the description below, as well as find me on the Xbox One under the name Bacon Rebellions, where I'm usually playing Kingdom Come Deliverance. Until next time, I will see you all on the battlefield.